Okay, we are live again. This is our third live broadcast of the evening.
My
We
goodness.
have 0 viewers at the moment, but that's fine.
The
Perhaps,
way it was meant to be.
perhaps we'll be discovered later by some late night owl.
Oh boy.
Um, when I check our video on another channel, it shows us starting soon. Um, anyway, whatever. I guess I won't even try to follow the comments anymore.
Yeah.
So we were talking about painted comics, and I was starting to say that I know that you have done a painted comic
Yeah.
that is not seen the light of day yet.
Not yet.
And I assume that none of the published comics you've done were painted like that.
Not yet.
Okay.
Just the covers anyway. We've tried
So,
to.
right, you had painted covers, which look really nice from what I've seen. And the artwork in the painted comic that I saw, which I think you did a number of years ago, was brilliant, actually. So, and I imagine with the growth you've had since, if you did another painted comic, it would be really something to see.
I would like to think so.
Well, since it hasn't happened yet, we'll just assume it will be great.
Okay.
So, in your ideal world, would you do all painted comics?
Yes. As far as I'm concerned, everything should look like Kingdom Come.
I see. And all of your work would look like Kingdom Come.
Yeah. Well, actually, I wouldn't mind doing a Bruce Timm style comic. But there's a lot to be said for a really old school, style of artwork. Don Heck was a man I believe was way ahead of his time.
Really, Don Heck? Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought of him as the guy they brought in when Jack Kirby couldn't do the work. And
well, really, if you look at some of his work, even though it was done like in the 50s, it was on par with the Marvel house style or DC house style that was around in the 80s. And that's why I think he was way ahead of his time. It didn't look dated. At least not in my opinion. It didn't look dated.
Sorry, I am gonna check the messages. There are the comments. There are no comments yet, but I've opened up a window. So I'll have to go back and look at Don Heck because as a kid, I thought of him as the guy who I was unhappy to see instead of Jack Kirby. It was always in reprints anyway. But
if you know Kirby's on a project and you see someone else, of course you'd be disappointed.
Like he came in after a few issues on the Avengers and then after a few issues on the X-Men. And you'd still have the Kirby covers, then you'd open up, and Don Heck looked very stiff to me by comparison.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's lots to be said about. There are some artists that a lot of people may praise, but some people don't care for as much. It could be that they're seeing the positive, side of their work. Some people are seeing only the flaws.
Yeah.
So, I know there are people out there who don't like my work at all. But I tend to try to see that as motivation. Like, okay, what are you seeing in this that you don't like? Is it something I can work on? It's not that I'm trying to please everybody, because there will always be people who love your work, always be people who hate your work. But I think I take criticism pretty well.
Well, no one can please everybody. I mean, it's art, and that's the basis.
It's subjective. Yeah.
So, I wonder with painted art if the reason we don't see more of it is because it's so hard to do, or maybe other than Alex Ross, is it not so popular? Do you have any sense of that?
Well, I try to pick up painted comics as much as possible. I mean, it's not just Alex Ross.
Right.
When Greg Horn did some work back in the day, I looked to pick that up, even though it's a completely different type of style. I love the work I've seen from, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, Esad Ribic.
Right.
When he did the Loki miniseries, that was beautiful work.
I haven't seen that. I'm mostly familiar with him in his current Thor run.
Well, Loki miniseries, I mean, it looks like it looked a bit like Alex Ross painted by, it looked like Frank Frazetta painted by Alex Ross. That's the feel it had. It was amazing.
Well, the Thor run looks very Frank Frazetta-ish.
Yeah.
But there's a separate colorist listed, so I'm not sure how much it's
Well, that's the internal work. The internal work, it's different, but the Loki miniseries was painted so far as I know. Steve Rude's work is a thing of beauty.
Has he ever done a painted comic? I've seen his painted covers.
Yes.
I love Steve
I
Rude.
think he was trying one with Magnus,
Uh-huh.
and I remember this was back in the days of MySpace. I remember,
Uh-huh.
chatting with him. He said it took him about 2 weeks to do a page, though.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was well worth it seeing that work.
Yeah.
I mean, that man's work is gorgeous.
But he'd have to
Um,
be paid a lot to be able to afford to do a page every 2 weeks.
yeah. But I personally I don't think artists make nearly enough money.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's true.
Well, I
I
guess
worship Steve Rude. I mean,
yeah,
even just his regular line work.
yeah. Oh man,
If I could
I
draw,
mean,
if I
some
could,
of everything he's
wish
done.
to draw like someone, he would be.
Yeah, Mike Mayhew's work is amazing beyond words.
I don't know him. The
You
name's
don't know
not
Mike
ringing.
Mayhew? Oh, you're missing out. You're really missing out.
Can you think of a comic that I could look for that he did?
Um, there's these series of X-Men one-shots recently, and he did the Jean Grey one, and it was fully painted.
Hmm.
You can look up for that. I can't remember the title
Yeah.
offhand. I do have it in my collection, but I'm not going to sort through thousands of comics just
Right.
to look at that one. But that's one thing in particular you can look at for painted work by him. It's beautiful. I mean, even his non-painted work is beautiful. But Mike Mayhew really is a man with great skills. And especially another artist I can really commend is Rodolfo Migliari. He's mostly known for his covers, especially on Green Lantern,
Uh-huh.
but his work is so amazing. And yeah, I guess you could say he's a friend of mine because we were friends on MySpace, and one of the most amazing things that ever happened to me is that he saw my work and he asked if he can use my MySpace as a link on his blog.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, this guy does covers for Green Lantern. He's asking me if it's okay that he features
So
my
he
stuff.
could see a connection artistically with you, I think.
I hope so. I mean, he's from Argentina, so it could be that we're pretty close by.
You could swim over and visit him or something.
Yeah, first I need to learn how to swim. But yeah, he does amazing work. It mostly covers, but I think he's been trying to do a painted comic at one point, but it wasn't for American publication. It was for
I
European.
see.
Now Europe, I think, is a lot more open to painted comics.
Right.
Look at the work that's published in heavy metal. It's mostly Eurocentric, but heavy metal isn't what it used to be.
No, the few times I've dipped into current heavy metal have been quite a disappointment.
Yeah, but there used to be some work that was worthy of looking at, and a lot of it was painted, which
Yeah.
was really
Yeah.
surprising.
Do you get to see much European comics?
Not really. When we have certain dealers, would bring them in, but only by request, because it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to bring a whole bunch when only one of these people are going to pick it up.
Right. And you're in an English language country, so the natural
Yeah.
thing to get English
Exactly.
language
Well,
comics.
arguably, I don't even speak English that well.
I wouldn't argue that.
Oh.
Just you use the word arguably very well. So there you go. You speak English better than many people in English-speaking countries. So what was I going to say? Do you have any more of those painted covers that you've done sitting next to you there? Do you want to show a few more?
Okay, well, you've seen the first one. Here's the cover for How to Be Hero number 4. Again, a gouache painting. This one you may be a bit more familiar with, How to Be Hero number 5.
Yeah, I think I've seen that one before, and I love those reds. Can you hold it up again?
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's quite powerful. I love the reds and the teddy bear. And so, how long did it take you to paint something like that?
I have a day.
Half a day. Oh.
No, I have a day. That's all I have to do. If it's they have a deadline, need a page a day, do a cover a day. This was a few years back, but this is for Heroes of a Nation number 1.
The football team.
Yeah, that's the entire football team there.
And did you use a lot of photo reference for that then?
Oh yeah, I definitely had to because they would not have been pleased if it didn't look like them. This is for Heroes of a Nation #2. This was the cricket book. I tried to
That's
get
very nice.
Brian Lara there because he's greatest batsman of all time.
Now, it must be very hard to do comics about real life people. I mean, I would
Yeah.
feel the pressure of trying to make it look like them or
Well, this
someone
was
like
the most recent one. This was Heroes of a Nation #3. That's Justice Ulrich Cross. Back in his World War II days.
that. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. That's a very nice cover too. He looks like a tough guy.
Oh yeah, yeah, he definitely was. I mean, back then when you had to be in the military, not to say that military guys aren't tough now, but
Right.
back then you definitely had to be elite, as it were. And it's scary when you see people accomplish so much in their life, and you can't accomplish nearly half of that. The guy was even a presenter on the BBC.
Wow. Yeah, I try not to think about too much about all the things that I haven't accomplished.
I try not to think about the fact that Alex Ross was 26 years old when Kingdom Come came out.
Well, he lived in New York City,
Mhm.
right? So your career might be quite different if you were a native New Yorker, for instance.
Yeah.
Um, so on the other hand, we now live in an era where artists from all over the world seem to work on American comics. Um, but still, the personal connection is always something that helps
Oh
get
yeah,
people.
definitely. There's only so much you can do online. As you can see, my computer has been shutting down on me. But if we were talking face to face, I'm sure there's a lot more that could be said.
Right, right.
But
Um,
same thing. You can Skype with an editor or writer or something, but it's not the same as when you're sitting down with each other and hashing things out.
yeah. I mean, I think there was a time when everybody in comics had to live, or in American comics had to live in
Mhm.
New York City. Um, but now it seems like it can be done from elsewhere.
I'm still sure it's an advantage. I'm sure it's a big advantage.
Yeah. And I notice a lot of people, like I hear about people who live here in Portland, all the comic book artists have moved here.
Wow.
But a lot of them lived in New York before and then they moved out here. But now there's so many of them here, you could probably network to a certain degree in Portland, um, at least with the other writers and artists, but maybe not the editors. Have I lost you again? Oh my God. Okay, guys. Sean and I may or may not talk anymore, but I think we'll call it a night. But I'm sure there's more to talk about. So, and I also hope to do more sort of one-on-one. I love hanging out with people one-on-one. It seems harder to do hangouts with large groups of people, at least for me. But this is a lot of fun. So, but it must be really late. Sean's 3 hours ahead of me. I'm starting to get sleepy. It's just about 10 o'clock my time. Of course, I wake up really early. Um, but I'll talk to you all later. Bye bye.